Call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll continue with agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
I'll move the agenda review.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Commissioners report on committees. Who'd like to start?
I can start.
Why don't you
I haven't started for a long time.
Okay,
I've been avoiding
Yeah, I
it because I
started
didn't
last.
want to take the show, you know.
okay, well, good. We'll get the best done first, huh?
Well, the last time we met was November 18th for our county board meeting. And that same day, in the evening, we all attended, including Bob Meyer, the Greater Mankato Growth Business Awards dinner down at the Verizon Civic Center. And they had over 450 people attending. I think it was 456 when I talked to Jonathan. It's the most they've ever had. So it was a very well attended event, highlighting various kinds of business awards and achievements from our region. I thought it was pretty good to hear about. Especially, I don't remember the name of the award, but they were the featured people, was the Minnesota Elevator with, is it John Romness? And, well, you would know, Kip, because you're out by your Eagle Lake probably. but-
That's Ramos.
Yeah, that was pretty nice to see everybody up there, and he had some really good words to say. On November 19th, I was contacted by and met with a local student who was attending South Central College, and so we met at the filling station, coffee shop, and this happens, I'd say once or twice a year. I don't know about you guys, but I get called sometimes from MSU or from South Central for an interview to help with a school project, and it just so happened that it was on looking at ways to reduce serious car accidents which involve alcohol, DWIs, and looking at various ways of reducing those alcohol-related driving accidents. So we had a real good, lively discussion. I know that Will and Vance here are very well schooled in a lot of those issues, which now are being addressed a lot through the TZD program here in Minnesota. And so that was nice to get together with them. Wednesday the 19th, later on, I attended our school district 77 Community Ed and Rec Advisory Committee. And we accepted a new member and also acknowledged a couple of old outgoing members. And we've got a couple openings. If you know somebody in the community that would like to serve that's from district, they have to be in school district 77. So if you know anybody who wants to sit on that advisory committee, that'd be great. Audra Neeson-Boyer also gave us a tour of the building over at Lincoln Community Center to show us all the different program areas, and it's amazing how many things go on in that little old school building over there. That's where I attended junior high school. And it's just amazing how they've utilized that space. They're thinking about trying to figure out how to remodel the little theater. It's in about the original condition it was when it was built, about 100 years ago or more. So it's interesting. We had our county board work session on November 25th. Talked about our projects and future needs and our budget. And of course, we've all had a 4-day weekend basically, I guess, with the county holiday with Thanksgiving. And then yesterday I met with our county water planning staff and talked about some of the issues. That one issue of waters of the U.S. we talked just briefly on, and mostly focused on if there's a reason for us to get involved with this middle Minnesota River watershed. If that goes forward, what would be the reasons for developing a middle Minnesota watershed here on our Minnesota River. And then met with Bob Meyer for a while in the afternoon yesterday, and that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
So,
good,
thanks.
thank you. Vance?
All right, well, we had, after our last board meeting, Will and I had our community farm meeting. Community farm did well, even though it was, got started probably about a month and a half late. So, but we're looking forward to next year. Attended the awards, GMG Awards that evening. On November 20th, There was a Highway 169 Executive Board, and we had a 5th anniversary meeting up in Shakopee. On the 21st, I attended a donation celebration. AgStar donated $100,000 to the Children's Museum. And so Children's Museum is looking amazing. I mean, you see it from the start when it was just a shell of a brick building to the way it is now. They've done amazing things. It's going to be really, really an asset to Blue Earth County and the city of Mankato. On November 24th, I had a Habitat for Humanity meeting, and then I had a diversity meeting in the afternoon. On November 25th, I started with the Airport Commission, 7 in the morning, and then we had our work session. On November 26th, I had a call-in for the AMC Executive Board. On the 27th, of course, was Thanksgiving. And on the 29th, my wife and I volunteered out at the Kiwanis Lights. And
Nice.
stood there for 5 hours, which is probably was the nicest night for the rest of the year, because it got up to 37 degrees on that day.
Wow.
And the next day it was 9, so it was like we picked the right day. But it was packed down there, absolutely packed, and it's gorgeous. And really, really recommend anybody to go down there. And if you do, make sure you bring your money to donate and your food to donate. So that's the end of mine.
Okay.
Huh. All right. Yeah, we all were there at the Hall of Fame, Business Hall of Fame, and that's always good on the 18th. And I did have on the 20th November my partners for affordable housing, a board meeting. And then on the 21st, Kip and I, a few of us, I think Drew was there too. We went to the WIC open house.
Oh.
The big
Yeah,
thing
I
over,
missed it.
that was
Accident.
right over here.
You missed one?
And that was neat. And yeah, for a little bit of money, they actually did fix that place up really nice. And then on the 25th, yeah, we had our work session. And then, like Vance, if I didn't get the nice night of the 29th, my wife with the Blue Earth County Historical Society dragged me along on Sunday, and that was quite a bit cooler.
It was quite a
Quite
bit
a bit
cooler.
cooler.
Windy too.
They were giving us 20-minute shifts, and I said, we can take half hours. Actually, about the time of 20 minutes, depending on where you were, we were up by Patstone, and the wind kept blowing through there. So yeah, 20 minutes wasn't so bad. So anyway, but yeah, that's a good thing. So yeah, everybody ought to get to that and do what they can. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
I think some of the committees that haven't been mentioned was my EMS board. We had a meeting, and we have the one helper that we have resigned her position, so we're going to be in the process of hiring another coordinator, educator. Just didn't work out for the gal we had working with us, and got 3 or 4 applications, and good applications. We're going to try to rehire that position middle of this month, have them ready to go by the 1st of, that person ready to go by the 1st of January. Had our emergency communications board meeting. Everything went really well there. We got Dan Davidson on board to kind of help us out, and Mike's been helping us a lot with trying to get some of the day-to-day operations of that running. Lieutenant Moore's been doing a great job, but it's just a lot of stuff. Blue Earth County, being the largest county of the organization, obviously gets everything. We end up doing most of it. Is that true, Mike? And the other communities or the other counties, they're a little smaller staff. So, but we are, and we've offered more than once to, if somebody doesn't like the way we're doing it or how we're doing it, that they'd be more than happy to let someone else do it. But we don't get any takers. And so our staff does a great job with it, and Brenda and Mike and Lieutenant Moore, and now Dan on board. So should move along fairly well. We had our extension meeting, and things are going along pretty well there. We got a report on the fair and all the stuff they did last summer, and we got a new intern helping us out while Amanda's on maternity leave, so that should help out up in the office up there. Also managed to swing by the WIC open house, a nice program. It looked like there was a good turnout. Work session was mentioned, and yesterday I had MRCI meeting. Things are going really well. We actually look like we're going to turn a little profit this year. We were a little worried as an executive board as we were meeting with our staff. And they were just getting ready to talk about the budget and all the power went out. We thought they rigged it, but they assured us they did not. But the power was out for like an hour and it was getting awfully cold in the room. We had our finance committee meeting first, and the other meeting that wasn't supposed to start till like 3:30, and about 2:45 it was getting awfully cold in there, and we thought we were gonna have to cancel, but then about that time the power came back on.
That was at the...
Right at the, yeah, they must have had something, the whole, yeah, something up on Map Drive went, so it was,
It was our highway department or something.
but they got the power back on, and like I said, things are going really well. The candy business is starting to pick up. A lot of candy getting delivered to Menards for one of our biggest accounts. So if you're in Menards, buy some candy. MRCI. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. Just a couple things that haven't been mentioned already is on the 26th, I had the Rural Minnesota Energy Board meeting at Slayton. We set our budget for 2015, and dues remains the same at $1,000, so we good financial position there. We awarded another PACE loan for upgrading energy efficient buildings. This one was in Mountain Lake, assisted living facility there, and so that continues to be a good program. And then yesterday I met with the TDS executive and assistant director and went over next year's budget and preparing for the meeting on Thursday. So that brings us up to today. Okay.
We have a few minutes, Mr. Chair. Shall we do a few administrative items?
Yep, let's do that.
First up would be the county board minutes for November 18th of this
I'll
year.
move the minutes.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. The bills?
I'll move the bills.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Just a couple questions real
Okay,
quick.
go ahead.
It's just a thought that goes through my mind, so that's why I'm asking this, but Rinke Noonan, contracted services for $3,666.
It's drainage, Kurt Dieter.
Is
That
it
would
Kurt
be
Dieter?
our
For sure?
attorney that's on
Okay.
retained.
A lot of times I see attorneys in here, I
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
wonder, it must be things that we can't deal with as far as all the attorneys we have here.
Well, and some of it's court-ordered representation for
See.
people that, you know, we're been responsible for paying. It's not necessarily that the county is hiring them, but the court is ordering that the attorneys represent
Somebody.
kids or parents in
Okay,
child
yeah.
protection cases.
DHS on the second week, it says 32,005 something. It could be money we got in. I don't know. I was just curious. Health, medical, psych. I haven't seen that written that way. I just didn't know if it was.
That's the situation where we have state deployed nurses working in our psychiatric hub. And so they're still employees of the state of Minnesota, and so we're reimbursing the state for wages and benefits through the grant that the South Central Community-Based Initiative receives.
So it's a mixture of money maybe in there even.
Well, it's primarily that grant
It is?
being
Okay.
utilized to pay for those deployed staff.
Oh, okay. And the third one, my last one is here, just a question was Soldo Consulting for contracted services for, it's almost $9,000.
That was an investigator hired to help us with an employment situation.
Oh, okay. All right. I hadn't seen it before.
Only one I have is Houston Engineering for contracted services for $21,000 second week.
That's that DEM grant through Environmental Services. We had received a grant to do some work. I'll have to get more information for you in terms of
You get the points.
specifically.
Get the gold star today.
It's a digital elevation modeling, I believe is what it stands
Oh.
for.
All right. All right.
The only one I had was where it says other fees taxable, had an individual, other fees taxable. Is that the,
What was the name of the vendor?
oh no, just other fees taxable, it'd be different individuals, just per people. They're scattered throughout. I don't know, if, just individuals. I don't recall that many.
Some of them are employees that have purchased materials in the Human Services Department on their expense forms, and so, or their other types of expenses.
Yeah, these are a
that
lot of like private individuals, Thomas Hayne, all that. They're different, even like a Susan Hood, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of them.
Oh, a number
know
of
if that was
those
a
were
rebate.
election judges.
Oh, they were all election judges? That's what that
Yes,
is,
that's
okay.
what it is.
That's-
Okay, that's,
That makes
that makes sense.
sense.
Taxable too.
You get like $9 an hour or
Okay.
something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bills are approved. Okay, we're right at about 9:15, aren't we?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
Should we call up Charlie?
Charlie.
Charlie, come on up.
Hi, Charlie.
Morning, Charlie.
Morning, Charlie.
Good morning. Just a quick one here for you. What we have today, if you want to refer to the memo that's in the packet, it's another software support contract renewal that takes place this time of year. This one happens to be for what we call the Compass system, which is used in human services, in the financial assistance, and also in the child support areas. So there's one small typo in the first paragraph there. This contract needs to be renewed for 2015, not for 2014. So just some quick background. The Compass system provides a number of productivity increases for the folks in human services. They include electronic versions of forms, document imaging, workflow, which is basically automating the flow of documents through the system. And also it offers integration with some state of Minnesota systems. So a lot of productivity items there. This particular software support contract is for one part of the Compass system. It's for what we call the on-base document imaging software that's used as part of the Compass system. And so this particular contract covers, like our other software support contracts, covers technical support, covers troubleshooting, and also includes upgrades to new versions of the software. So this is a maximum or a not to exceed amount. The vendor that we're dealing with is eDocument Resources, which is now doing business as DataBank IMX. And this contract is for $34,560. That amount has been budgeted in the Human Services and the IT operating budgets. So the action requested today is approval of the eDocument Resources DataBank IMX software support contract for 2015. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Looks like something we need.
Yes.
Okay. There's no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Charlie.
Charlie.
You want to wait till 20 after for Mike, or should
I
we?
could do the Human Resources agenda, Mr. Chair, very quickly.
Okay.
Those items are all informational. We have filled a social work position in the Human Services Department. We have a number of staff who have completed basically their probationary period, one in Human Services in the public health programs area, a maintenance engineer up at the Justice Center, and then a number of custody officers have completed 12 months of employment and are eligible for a salary adjustment. So all of those items are informational at this point, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if the board had any.
That would be a good Christmas present for him.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Now we could move to the All Hazards Mitigation Plan Amendment.
Okay, come on up, Mike.
Morning, Mike.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
What I have in front of you today is a little bit of bureaucracy. We have a,
We're used
back
to
when we
that.
we had the disaster declaration in June, we had a couple of properties that qualified for mitigation through that declaration to HSCM. I think Al Forsberg brought it to you guys' attention at the last meeting with the Mealies and the Munsons. Upon submitting application for the grant funding to move forward, we have to have in our hazardous mitigation plan, which was adopted in 2013, it has to say that, one, that we had landslides or land bank erosion in there, of which we did, and then it has to say demolition or relocation. Well, ours stated we had to support a relocation, but some of these properties, we don't know if we'll qualify for relocation. We don't know if we can get a mover in there to move the properties out base of the hills and stuff. They just don't know if they can get those houses out. So to meet the criteria of the grant funding, I need to have the county board adopt a resolution and then, or pass a resolution and adopt an amendment to add 2 words to the hazardous mitigation plan that says, instead of support relocation, it supports demolition or relocation of these properties, and then we qualify.
Okay,
So moved. Second. Oh, go ahead.
discussion.
Yeah, it's just, we've done this all our lives. I mean,
Yep.
as law enforcement, and those 2 words, I'm sure Ross works with that all the time.
Yep.
And so I think everybody understands, we just need to have it, get it done.
Yep. So, okay, go
And
ahead.
just some of the wording I just wanted to mention that's important, that stuck out to me when it talked about prevention, you know, and this wording that's been, this document that's added here for erosion, you know, ravine, and ravine erosion, landslides, and then it talks about near channel issues of erosion caused by groundwater sapping or landslides. There's a lot of people who study this, right? Well, I mean,
Yep.
been out by Will's property in Vernon Center, we've looked at areas that have had huge amounts of land swallowed up by the river, and it ends up, well, all the way to Lake Pepin.
Yep.
And relating to that, I just want to reiterate something I said at a previous board meeting in the last month, was that at some point, I hope the planning and zoning is willing to take up again looking at some language relating to setbacks from our river bluffs and from areas where there could be, you know, where they could maybe model, where they can tell that within 10, 20 years there's going to be some serious issues, maybe 40 years, because we've got so much GIS information now that we've never had before that we've collected, and we know the behavior of some of the arcs of these rivers, the topography of the land, the soil types, and we can pretty much, I think, look at where we know some areas are going to be swallowed up, you know, in the future. And there's people that still request to build, you know, 20, 30 feet from a bluff, and I just hope we can look at that and add that into our planning and zoning stuff, you know, in the future.
I've had several discussions with environmental services about setbacks, and we know that is always a heated argument from a landowner that says, I own the property, I should build where I want, where are your setbacks in place? I understand that. But when you start have to use federal and state and local tax dollars to recover this property, to prevent it from going over ravines and stuff, I mean, there is that kind of potential there, and it is something that, you know, in discussions with environmental services, I've said it is something that probably should be addressed. And if they do get variances, maybe they have to attach it to their deed that says this variance was given, and therefore at no point will federal, state, or local tax dollars be used to recover this property in case of these. I don't know. I think I think there's a whole bunch of different potential solutions to look at it if you go to variances. I mean, but this, I know they added that to, if you bury concrete on your property now, that attaches to the deed that you have to locate where you buried it, and then it carries to the deed. Maybe that's something they can look at. We've been discussed numerous issues. I've discussed it with them, but anytime you talk about changing setbacks, you know, and stuff like that, it always becomes very contentious. But
I know.
But it is definitely something that should be talked about when it requires, you know, different tax dollars to absorb this property to prevent, because this is not, what we're looking at is stuff that's not insurable. I mean, it's just not insurable under your homeowners. They don't insure for the land going out from underneath you. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
We got to vote. Oh, we got to vote.
We don't
Should
need
we vote
Mike.
on it?
We don't need Mike.
You wanna wait and see if you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mike?
Good job, Mike.
Okay. Lisa, for the committed funds resolution?
Morning, Lisa.
Morning, Lisa.
Morning.
Good morning.
Lisa?
So back in 2010, they created a new accounting standard, GASB 54, which is committing fund balance, and we need to commit funds before the end of the year. In a work session, we met and talked about the funding of ditches, and you had decided maybe it was a good idea to commit some funds to fund these ditches ourselves instead of bonding. So I have added that to our committed fund balance. 10 million should hopefully get us through quite a few years with funding some ditch projects. And then there's also 1.5 million committed for CASAD 12 for 2015. We're expecting to spend those funds. So is there any questions?
Well, I could move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Well,
Right.
I mean, I had a good discussion with Bob about it. I'm sure that Will
Yep.
and Kip were probably in on some of the discussion too. I mean, because I thought $10 million, that seems like that's a big project, but then you start looking at how long it takes to get paid back, you know.
Correct.
And so that 10 million could disappear in 4 or
Right.
5 years.
It's normally over 10 years.
Yeah, so I could see where $10 million is just a nice average amount, and it sounds reasonable to me. So.
What's the interest rate that we will be able to charge on that? I think there's statutory.
We were looking at 4% when we had discussion,
Mhm.
but I believe every year we tie that rate into confession of judgments,
Yep.
which has now increased to 5%.
Okay.
But we will definitely use the same rate we're using right now on negative ditches.
Sure.
So whatever you decide in January, that rate's gonna be, this year it was 4%.
Okay. So,
And we would look at that on a case-by-case basis. If there was a really big project and we get a bond cheaper and it's worth it, I mean, we certainly, this doesn't tie us to doing it with our funds, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's a huge project, they can
Like
get
a
money
$5
for
million
2.5%,
project.
and they get money for
Absolutely.
2.5%, you know.
Mhm.
It's these onesies and twosies that are killing you because you have to pay all the fees. You know, so if you're bonding for $500,000 or $1 million, you add all those fees, well, the interest rate might only be 2%, but you add all the fees on there and, you know,
Yep.
it drives the cost up. So, but if you had a
Exactly.
huge project, it might be a different situation. So, just so we have that option open, I think would be in our best interest.
good. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks,
a lot,
Lisa.
Well, Mr. Chair, item number 4 in your packet is a couple of tax abatements. These were applications for abatement from Preserve at Southridge LLC. Both of these situations were the result of a clerical error that was found by our property tax evaluation staff. These are apartments that were valued on an income basis, and we give credit for operating costs on a percentage basis. Through human error, that percentage was entered incorrectly, and so we're trying to rectify that error and make the property owner whole by doing these abatements. So we have one abatement that will result in a $1,214 reduction in taxes payable, and the second one has a reduction of $61,806 for 2015.
Quite a difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, that-
an error that, we learned from. We are now taking steps in our system to make sure that we're able to identify those keying errors sooner and avoid this situation in the future.
So, move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no, go ahead.
Glad
Chris.
somebody caught it, and
Yeah,
I don't know if the landowner brought it up or if everybody requested it, but,
I believe the landowner did bring it forward for our correction.
oh, I'm glad somebody caught it. It's-
Yeah. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Josh?
Hi, Josh.
Morning, Josh.
Morning, Josh.
Just have one item for you this morning. What we have is the new 2-year agreement with Nicollet County, and this is for the purchase of our juvenile work crew time that we share with Nicollet County. What it is a 2-year agreement with $5,000 per year and a total of $10,000 for those 2 years for 2015 and 2016. We've had this shared agreement with them since 2012, where instead of having our own juvenile work crew leader, they allow us to have juveniles on their work crew, and it's a very nice agreement because they don't give us a limited number. We can as many as that they have room for that they'll take on that juvenile work crew. So it's been a very nice value for us to have this shared agreement with Nicollet County. So I'd respectfully ask that the board approve this 2-year agreement.
Also move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Sounds like a good program.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been.
So, okay, if there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, do some more administrative stuff.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 5 in your packet are appointments to environmental services committees. The first committee is the Recycling Education Committee. These appointments are for 2-year terms starting January 1st of 15 through the end of 2016. We have 4 individuals up for reappointment to that committee. The next item is Planning Commission. This is an appointment for a 3-year term starting January of 15 through the end of 2017. This would be a reappointment of Kurt Anderson to the Planning Commission. And then finally, a reappointment to the Board of Adjustment, also a 3-year term from 15 to 17 for Kurt Anderson as well. So we're recommending these individuals for appointment to those environmental service committees.
I'll move those, I can
Second.
move them together.
All
Okay.
together is fine.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I just have
Go ahead,
some-
Drew.
Kurt Anderson's been on there a long time. Is there anybody that ever tries to weasel in and get in on these committees or not? I'm just curious.
We don't have a very long list, and Kurt does a great job. I mean, for a while they were having a hard time getting, we got a really good planning and
No, I
zoning
know.
board.
I'm being a little bit humorous. I hope
Yeah.
you realize it.
No, Kurt.
Tell Kurt, I don't know, he's been on there a little long. Maybe could he find somebody else to replace him or? No. How long has he been on there? Quite a while, hasn't he?
Oh, I don't recall. I mean, he wasn't.
15, probably.
Yeah, I think he got on about the time I got off, because when I got
Yeah.
off as mayor, I was on
Okay.
yet for a little while, and
Yeah.
I've been on here for 12 years, so he's probably been up in there. I think he's
Alright.
been on since.
I'm just having a little fun, I hope you
Yeah.
realize, but I mean, it's something, a little seriousness too. If anybody else shows interest, how do they get on if they want to? They just send a letter in?
Yeah, send a letter. Or we just got Perry Wood on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that we did that not too long ago,
Okay.
6-8 months ago, and
Yeah.
we had a process. I think we had
Yeah.
1 or 2 names.
And they have
Yeah,
a
they
vetting
kind
process
of-
where they interview them
Yeah.
or do something, so they.
Yeah, well, if we have more than 2, but it's very seldom we have more than 2. We're usually lucky to get 1.
Yeah,
yeah.
In all honesty, I mean, all
Yeah.
joking aside, it's a big time commitment. You know, it's several hours
know.
once a month. and
Several hours.
Not including what you have to do outside of the meeting, because a lot of times this group will go out and meet on site. We've been on site several
something.
times to look
Yeah.
at stuff. So. But no, in all seriousness, if we have an opening coming up, we have to work pretty hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll get 1 or 2, but if we were to have 3 or 4, we would have a interviewing process. I'm not sure who would do it. I don't think the planning and zoning board would. But
Yeah.
I'm sure staff would.
And I guess this just came to my mind right now from a previous discussion a long time ago. I know I do see in the bills periodically, and I think the rates have been frozen for a long time probably for these per diems for people who serve on these committees. And maybe at some point we need to look at that at a work session and see, different kinds of committees that have larger commitments and time frames and that sort of thing. Maybe some of those per diem rates need to be looked at if they haven't been changed for a long time. We haven't really talked about that much that I remember, Bob.
It's been a few years since the Planning Commission per diems were adjusted, but they have been in
So are they
recent
just,
history, but
Yeah.
we can.
some are adjusted
idea, though.
differently than others? Or are they-
We do have different rates
Oh,
for different
I'm
committees.
trying to remember.
Yeah. And I know that it comes to my mind because I'm on that youth and government, committee, and it does take effort to get the word out. If a position opens up somewhere, to try to get high school kids, you know, to sign up to be on a lot of these committees that are available. We have a seat on most of the county committees that we have, and the city has quite a few, excuse me, the city has quite a few committees also, and it's wonderful if we can get youth involved on these committees, I think. So, but I mean, the communication feature or issue, going to the schools and trying to get that out. So I was just curious if there was any kind of, you know, effort to get people to join these committees, get some new blood on there, not necessarily kick anybody off, but get some.
Yeah, and we've actually had 3 or 4 new ones, so it's, in the last couple of years, Barry's
Yeah.
come on, and
Yeah.
but we have a good turnout. We very seldom have anybody miss, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
we gotta be
impressive.
proud of our planning commission.
Oh, yeah?
They work hard.
They do a good job.
There's 7 of us up here at that time, so we have to bring up a couple more chairs.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they almost always all make it. But I would certainly entertain some discussion about the per diems
Yeah.
for our committees.
Yeah, the ones that, you know, some of them are probably shorter meetings or whatever, but
Yeah.
and there's some that are longer where you have to go out to sites and do that kind
I
of
agree.
thing.
I think we should.
Well,
Okay.
I think so.
okay, any other discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Okay, we're at 9:35. Craig?
Hi, Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Good morning. Got 2 items for the board today. First one is we have a bid award for County Ditch 2 on that particular project. We had, you have the recommendation letter from Chuck Brandl of INS Group in your file, in your board packet there. The bid was excellent, about very good bid for this particular project. So he's recommending that the board award the bid.
I would award the bid to Bruns Construction for $61,856.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
That was a great bid. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
did you see
Yeah.
the variance in that? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
And I think some of this is to let you know that I think, because we did have a weir built into the engineer's estimate. So the engineer's estimate, or did he have the weir pulled out of that engineer's estimate?
The weirs, I think the weirs pulled out.
It was pulled out, okay.
I could have
I didn't have the
look here.
detail, but we did change the project up a little bit,
Yeah.
so.
In the construction items, there's no weir there, so.
There
yes.
isn't, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that is a really good bid, so.
How could there be such a variance?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
twice.
Well, the highest bid was 412.
Or something. Like
Yeah,
4 times.
yeah, but even the next highest
Well, yeah, how
is
does that-
double. So
Well,
what's...
Bruns is right in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's good winter work.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of that has to do with, you know.
They don't have to move.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
mobilization's cheaper.
Yeah.
Bruns does a good job for us.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does some different
Yeah.
things for us. So.
Good enough.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
The next item here is we received a petition for improvement on County Dish 78. Statute requires that any petition for improvement be presented at its next board meeting. We sent this to Kurt Dieter, and he did find a problem on it. So we've contacted the attorney to remedy that problem. So I guess I recommend at this time for the board to table it until that problem with the bond is corrected.
Move to the table.
Second. This is for CD 78?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
78.
I'd like the record to reflect that I'll excuse myself from voting on this because this is the ditch system that serves my farm.
Oh, it is.
Appreciate that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Okay, thank you, Craig.
That's it, thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Greg. Okay, so we got,
Okay, we have the Public Works.
we take a quick, should I go again?
You want to take a quick break, or?
So-
We're ready for you, Al. Drew? We're ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, trying to settle some important issues over here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning, Al.
Good morning.
Morning, Al. I've been working with Lisa on the financing for the County 12 public right-of-way. So I understand that was put in place and we'll be able to move forward with the right-of-way acquisition. Thank you very much.
Good.
The first action item I would like to delete.
Really?
We didn't receive the information that we needed from the state. So I will bring that to a future county board meeting.
You'll make this meeting really short, aren't you?
Yeah. The next item is to final out the County 12 Trunk Highway 14 interchange project. We finally arrived on an agreement with the contractor on all payment items. Final payment is $9,570.92
Wow.
out of $7.9 million.
You say,
$7.8 million.
did you say 92 or 72 cents?
92.
Oh, it says
says 72 here.
72. It's small, but
Yeah. You know, you gotta look at things at the right angle.
It says 72 in
Yep.
in our packets.
our packets. So.
Oh, that is an error then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's 92.
You mean
resolution
it's
is correct.
It's a
Final
whole
payment
20
amount.
cents difference?
Yes.
I
So
don't
this
know if
is-
we can approve this.
Is this what portion of it, does this include the bridge and everything then, Al, or what does this
Yeah.
include? I mean, is it the whole that whole leg, that whole?
That interchange area was constructed in 2 contracts. One basically placed the fill in the wick drains and settled the soft soil. And then the next contract, which is this one, constructed the bridge, the ramps, the pavement approaches.
Yeah.
So,
That started how many years ago?
well, the entire project, the first project was a bridge over the Demony Railroad,
Yeah.
which must have been on the order of, what, 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Well,
They
right
started
after-
in '09 maybe.
Right after Obama got in, because we got some
It was stimulus.
stimulus money, shovel-ready project, so.
Yeah, it was basically completely funded by stimulus funds and by funds that MnDOT had that they weren't able to expend quickly.
Yeah.
So we helped them out.
So that's where it started.
Yeah.
We were glad to help them out, yeah.
Well, I would move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Are you gonna make Al pay the 20 cents out of his own pocket?
I understand the resolution is correct, though,
Well, I
right?
know, just a side comment too.
The
I mean,
resolution is correct.
I can remember going to the NACO conference and going up on
Yeah.
Capitol Hill with both Will and Vance
Yeah.
to kind of encourage our senators and leadership up there on Capitol Hill to help us complete that project. And I mean, so there was efforts by Blue Earth County, not just us, but the city,
Yes.
you,
Definitely.
and all of us putting our efforts together to try to get some focus and get some help on that project, so.
And
Well,
Ross,
this is-
Ross was instrumental in the acquisition of
Oh, of course.
some of the right away.
Thank you, Ross.
Most of it we acquired through negotiations, but Ross did
Yeah.
help us with some of it.
Very positive.
Good. You got some information items for us, too?
Yes. The County 12 project. For the intersections, we needed to do ICE studies, intersection control evaluation studies. Those studies are just being completed now, and there's a map coming around that shows the access to the road from 17 down to Trunk Highway 83. This is the same as what we've discussed before, it's nothing different. But yet I want to make sure everybody understands and agrees with how the intersections would be handled, because they are important to the future development of the land out there. With the completion of those ICE studies, we can forward those to the Federal Highway Administration, and that will give us clearance to actually move ahead with purchases and expenditures on the project. So, starting at 17 in the north end, there is a roundabout there now. It was constructed so that a south leg could be efficiently added. You move south, extension of Bassett Road would be a future roundabout. However, if we construct this road in, say, 16 and 17, if Bassett has not been extended, we would not construct that roundabout until Bassett is extended. You know, why spend the money and why have traffic slowing down and going around the circle when there's no purpose?
I agree.
It may be several years before Bassett's extended. Then as you move south, there would be a temporary, or there would be a connection from Carver over to 12. It would be a stop sign, a T intersection. You'd be able to go both left and right. However, when the roundabout to the south at Hoffman is constructed, that particular one at Carver would become a right-in, right-out. Carver would be extended south on that dash line over to Hoffman, and then it would have access through the Hoffman roundabout.
That's interesting.
So that provides access for MnDOT and for the sheriff, the Justice Center, 212 immediately. But when that future roundabout is built, the left turns would be coming through that roundabout. The other thing too is that traffic from MnDOT and the Justice Center can go north on Carver Road and then use 17, access 17 there.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, it's not really an inconvenience to anybody to have that go out the other way.
So
So-
down here at 83, you're saying that would be a possible roundabout too then?
Yeah. So proceeding south from Carver, when we build 12, we would build Carver, or I'm sorry, we'd build Hoffman and build that roundabout at Hoffman. Because the new junior high school is being built, there's development waiting in the wings. The city's going to build Carver from Highway 22 over to about the midpoint for the junior high project. It's part of our project, and I would see that as a city cost because it's a city street, a city leg of the intersection. You'd build Hoffman over to the Hoffman roundabout. In the future, if land to the east of 12 is developed, that Hoffman roundabout would be used for future interior roads there. So you see the dashed line off to the east.
I have a question too, or a comment. A couple of people, I remember at one of the meetings we had regarding some of these, the 12 extension and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Some of the trucking people had mentioned that if a roundabout or even if a roundabout didn't go in at 83, if there's any way there could be some right turn,
Yeah.
what would you call them, access lanes?
Free rights.
Free rights.
Yeah, our ICE report is going to show a free right if you're going west on Highway 83. There'd be a free right to go north
Okay.
without having to go into the roundabout like the Stadium Road roundabout.
Yeah.
If you're coming south on 12, there'd be a free right to take you to the west.
Okay.
And that's what,
That's what they were talking about.
yes,
Those two.
is it Mr. Goebel or Mr. Gettle
Could be. Yeah, I think so.
especially?
Yeah, your truckers would look
They just said
would
that it
want
would be
that.
dangerous for people because there are quite a few trucks that use this still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they felt that it would be safer for other passengers or in cars, regular cars. So.
So that would be a roundabout, but it would have two free rights.
Good. That's good.
Okay, going back up to Hoffman then, you see the future street system connected at that Hoffman Road roundabout. Meanwhile, there are some houses back on this gravel road, and we'd have a stop sign intersection with 12 there, so those houses would have access to the road. When the new street system is built, that would be closed and access would be to the roundabout. And coming south, there'd be another intersection. The ICE study has said that with full development and with those traffic volumes, a stop sign controlled intersection would be adequate there, so that one would not be a roundabout. The dashed intersection just north of 83,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
that would be stop signs. So that's the plan for how you would access that road.
All right.
Those are important considerations when we go out and buy right-of-way, because the landowners will want to know, how do I get onto the highway? And we'll show them, you can't have driveways directly onto the highway. Your access will have to be at those intersection points. And interior street systems would be built so you access at those intersection points. Traffic would flow down the road very nicely.
How are we gonna deal with Marcotte's then? That's that first place to the south of the Justice Center, that farm place.
You know,
We
it's
still have
like
access right onto the road?
temporarily, I would see that as eventually being closed and with an interior street system being built. But no, we won't cut anybody off. We will have driveways for field access also.
So he'll have access to that road for
Yeah.
now. And then later when the roundabouts are built,
Yep, when the areas gets developed and plats come in, we'll want a street system that goes to the intersections. But meanwhile, the farmers need access to their fields, and if there's a house on that gravel road, it needs access.
okay.
Similar to 17, if you drive along 17, you'll see field accesses and some house driveways, but as development takes place, that needs to consolidate and come into the intersections. So we will be buying controlled access, so we'll have the power to do that.
So all these, like these intersections and so forth, the school board, other people seen any kind of idea, so they got their...
Yeah. This has been coordinated with the city.
Coordinated with them all, I assumed
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
Yep.
And then we assist, I mean, I see in the corner here of 83 and 12 and 41 that we, one of the properties I remember you highlighted in that public meeting we had that there's enough setback room there for them just to remain there and there's no problem. But the other property, Kitty Corner, to the northeast, will have to be
Yes.
acquired.
Yep.
And we help those people like relocate, or I mean, do we do something, or do they just pretty much have to do it on their own? Or I mean, I don't know how that process works.
We would. Well, one good thing about making the right-of-way money available is that those folks who want to have that veil of uncertainty lifted.
Yeah.
They would like us to buy them out and know a date. We would probably buy them out, but allow them to live there for a certain period until we actually need the land for the road.
Okay.
That would give them the money to look for an alternative housing.
Yep.
But we would be buying it under the federal right-of-way relocation rules, which provides funds for not just acquiring the parcel, but also to help them move and to find alternative housing. We'd hire a consultant that's expert in those relocation rules to help us with that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Did the city of Mankato come up with this dotted line for the extension of Carver to Hoffman, heading
Yeah.
south?
You know, what will happen there is that when development proposals come in, they'll be working with the developer
Yeah.
on the exact alignment for it. So that may shift.
That just looks odd to me.
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer, I'm not a traffic guy, but that just, to cut through that like that, and I understand that, to me it almost makes more sense to have it curve around and put a roundabout there where it's kind of proposed to have the intersection. But that'll all come in the future, I understand that. But
Yeah.
that just,
Our only interest in where it goes will be, we don't want it too close to the roundabout, so the roundabout works.
right.
Outside of that, it'll be between the city and the developer, just how it aligns.
Because that'll be serviced by either one of those. So that little section of road will come out then between where that veers off.
Yeah.
That little section will be gone.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Shall I move on?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the next steps with 12 are FHWA approval to proceed with right-of-way design, and that will come with the completion of these ice studies and the selection of the intersection design. Then we'll do a right-of-way plat. We'll do detailed design work. We'll get appraisals and acquire right-of-way over the next year here. Our construction projects, County 14 Bridge, and we visited that on our road tour, has been very disappointing in that the supplier for the bridge beams is way, way late with them. They have now completed casting all the center beams. It's just the two beams on the outside that they're casting, so they should be available within a week. And then you can set the beams, but there's a grout and a keyway between the beams, and there's some post-tensioning tendons that go through the beams. So we'll either need some warm weather or heat the beams in order to place the grout and jack them together. If we can get that done, we can put a temporary gravel surface on and open the road and pave it next year. We will be looking at liquidated damages because there was a completion date of November 1st in the contract of 2014. You know, in all my years of working with this, I haven't seen a supplier that late in delivering something essential to a project.
Would it help if we designed a letter from the board requesting
No.
that they give some attention to it? Or?
No, and they're, like I say, they're all done but 2 now, and we expect to be coming soon.
Well, there was a huge issue with steel and cement this year, so I mean, and both of those items were critically important to this project, I'm sure, so.
Yeah. Then County Road 147 bridge, we've encountered a snag there. We provided the revised bridge plans to the Corps of Engineers a year ago for the revised bridge deck, the deck that could carry trucks as well as pedestrians. We provided those plans to them. We have documentation. We provided those plans to the Corps a year ago. The Corps neglected to forward it to the State Historic Preservation Office. The law requires that it be forwarded to SHPO. The Corps has now done their paperwork and forwarded it to SHPO, and we're waiting for them to come back. It's a very unfortunate thing. And we do have a permit from the Corps good through 2017, but, and I suppose we could proceed with that, but we'd have the risk of being sued, or somebody being sued, because the Corps didn't do this consultation. So we've been working with the contractor. We have a signed letter agreement from the contractor that they will hold their bid for 90 days from 40 days, 130 days total. And we expect to have permission within a couple weeks to, at the latest, February. Contractor's ready to go to work, Traber. So, there again, that's unfortunate. I've never seen something like that happen before. We're working on the County 1 design and right-of-way acquisition, which is going quite well. I just talked to Gordy this morning on the Highway 66 agreement that has gone through Mankato, through St. Paul, MnDOT. It's at the State's Department of Administration. We can't actually spend any money on contracts, design, surveys, borings, and so on, until that is signed in St. Paul, because we wouldn't get reimbursed. So we're pushing them to get that done. We may do some surveys with our own crew, because it's relatively open out there. We can move quickly with that. We need that information. A couple of items you may be interested in. A chart from MnDOT on their construction outlook. And you can see it's going up and then it's going down. So what's happening here is, even though the gas tax has only had one increase in the last 20 plus years, MnDOT basically borrowed money, sold bonds, and they were able to have a rising construction program. Now they've borrowed all the money they can, so they're having to live within their means and pay back the bonds. And their construction program is falling here. So this would be an item at the legislature this year. Excuse me. Relating to that, of course, MnDOT just released their District 7, actually for the entire state, there's a 10-year capital highway work plan. I copied only the District 7 plan, and it's interesting to see what MnDOT is planning to do within District 7, South Central Minnesota, over the next 10 years. I put an asterisk along the projects that affect us most directly as you move through it. A couple of keys, of course, are the Highway 14 projects, the 169 flood raise projects, and then the Highway 22 south of Mankato here. I've been working with both MnDOT and with the City of Mankato on coordinating the Victory signals and also the Trunk Highway 22 signals. When those signals have been replaced or improved, the county has put money into those projects for the new hardware, the new controllers, for fiber optic connections, so that they could be coordinated. Victory has just a couple of short gaps in the connections, and they are going to go ahead and try to close those gaps, even though it's winter and putting in the conduit is more difficult. And what's interesting, if you take Victory, see if I can remember these numbers right now, about 10,000 ADT, and you take a minute reduction in delay per car, and you say about $20 an hour, that comes up to about $600,000 a year in delay costs.
Wow.
So it is important that we get that coordination done. It does pay. Plus, we've invested money in those signal systems over the last several years, so they could be coordinated, and we're not getting any benefit out of that. So the city is proceeding with that, even though it's winter, and same thing with Highway 22. In all those intersections where we have legs, we put money into getting them coordinated. They're not now coordinated. So I'm urging them to get that done.
Were you able to attend the TAC meeting with Region 9?
No.
I think it was 17th of November.
No, I missed that.
I couldn't attend either. I became ill, so I couldn't go. A lot of times they review some of these projects, you know, and
Yeah.
things that change. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then I guess the final information item was the Section 404 assumption. I sent a memo to you a couple days ago, basically where I'm at and what and outlining what my presentation would be at AMC. I think it's consistent with the board's view on environmental permits and trying to produce a more efficient, expeditious system. We currently, when we touch water, or even a hint of water, with a road project or maintenance project, need a federal permit from the Corps of Engineers, a Section 404 permit, often a public water permit from the DNR, a Wetland Conservation Act permit from Bowser, and then permit from the MPCA for stormwater discharge. Kind of the long-term hope here is that if we could get the state to assume the 404 program, and the law and rule provides that the state can implement the Section 404 permit, we'd have a faster, more efficient system. And then if the state is doing that, why not fold the DNR public water and the Bowser permits into it, and then have one water permit instead of 4. So there will be resistance to that, but that's the basic long-term idea, long-term goal.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I just have
Thanks,
one
Al.
question. I've heard there's a shortage of road salt. How's our supply?
We're having trouble getting salt. You know, it's kind of interesting how these supply price issues change, and they can change so quickly sometimes. For years, we did not buy salt off the state contract because we were getting it cheaper off the open market. And we'd have it trucked up from Kansas with green trucks, basically. Last year, towards the end of the year, there was a shortage of salt. And so we weren't able to get it. We're paying high prices for it. This year, before the year even starts, there's a shortage of salt, and the prices are high. So we're doing our best to get whatever salt we can and fill our bins. It looks like next year we're going to have to change our philosophy and go on to the state contract, because it's no longer cheaper to be on our own in the open market.
Question, Al. Just thinking of some alternatives for road melting chemicals. I'm not sure exactly of the chemical that we're using. You know, I mean, you call it salt, but I'm sure it's a blend of something. I don't know, isn't it? Or is it just salt?
It's sodium chloride.
It is. So like
blasted and dug out of the earth down in Kansas.
Okay, there's other products that people are using in other states, I know, and I just didn't know
Yeah.
if we've investigated some of those things. I
We-
think
we-
South Dakota uses one of their own
Yeah.
type, and then Wisconsin in some different areas uses different ones. I'm just wondering if we couldn't do that, if we couldn't look into it.
We are actually, 95% of it is salt, but in the past we've injected a product from corn and soybeans into the salt pile, and then when it gets really cold, we put calcium chloride on top of the load, and that's much hotter, depresses the freezing point more, it works better when it's cold. So we are doing that, but when you look at the basic economics of it, salt is so much cheaper, even at $100 a ton, than these other products.
Yeah.
The other thing we're doing is doing some salt brine on the roundabouts, liquid, applying liquid.
I just know there's other available alternatives, and I don't know what the cost comparison is. It'd be interesting to find out what it is today. You know, I don't know.
They're much
For a
more
while,
expensive.
South Dakota wouldn't even release what they were using. I think they had their own patented. I think they had their own patented vegetable product of some sort they put on the road, and it doesn't have quite the environmental risk, so to speak.
Right.
Because salt, you know, you pretty much can put salt spray on a plant, it'll kill it. I mean, you put it on, you can kill your weeds around your house with salt spray if you want to do it by hand.
Yep.
Salt is very caustic to the environment. And I know there's a lot of articles and there's a lot of workshops even just to talk about how to reduce the salt that goes back into off our roads and things like that. And I don't know, I just was wondering if we shouldn't take some time just to look at that.
Yeah, and we have over the past, and there's training programs available through MnDOT and through the University of Minnesota. There was a program at MnDOT here a couple weeks ago that I attended, put on by the Freshwater Institute, on the pollution aspects of salt.
And what would you have to say after attending that?
Well, first of all, we use very little salt on the county highway system. More in the Mankato area where traffic volumes are heavy, but in the rural area, we don't use much salt because you put salt down, it melts the snow and ice, makes it wet, and then the wind blows and it catches on the road. And with the few trucks we have, we don't get back in time to melt it off again and keep it wet. So we don't use much salt in the rural area. So we're a very low salt user for a highway agency.
Really?
Yeah, we just don't have the physical capabilities to put more on. But you look at crashes and public expectations, and there is a big demand to get the ice off the roads.
I mean, was there some highlights that came out of that workshop you went to, or that session where they talked about alternatives and things? Was there some highlights?
Well, you know, it's basically a balance. Public demands ice, snow-free roads. You get it by plowing and using salt. So that's one balance. The other balance is there are environmental impacts and costs associated with using it.
Yeah.
And then you have to balance that also for where you're putting it on with the weather conditions and what works. Salt works down to about 20 degrees and a little lower, and then you have to get into calcium chloride and some of these other things to make it work. When you drive down a trunk highway after a storm, you'll see a white sheen to the road. The blacktop has this whitish color.
That's when they put that calcium chloride on.
No, that's salt.
Oh, that's salt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look for that after the next heavy snow. Drive to St. Peter on one of these busy roads, and you'll see a white.
Well, yeah. I've
Yep.
seen that, yeah.
Turns the road white.
The whole distance.
That's what I get in my car, you know.
It's hard to get up
Get
to
to the car.
Helping your car out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd like to request that we look at some alternatives, even do a cost comparison, even if it costs twice as much money. Just to see.
You're talking more like 5 times as much, 10 times as much.
Oh, it is that much?
Yeah. It's a big difference. What does work is to use salt and combine it with other things for particular situations.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank
Right.
you, Al.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Al.
See you in St. Cloud.
Yes.
Yep. And good work.
What's going on in St. Cloud?
Wear your red, white, and blue tie there, Al.
Oh. Are you going to have some extra ones there?
We will.
Save
All
one
right.
for Al.
All right.
Yep.
This is Ross's last meeting that I will be attending, and I want
Oh.
to thank Ross very much for all of his assistance over these years. He's helped us get the job done in many ways, and also been a friend and someone I could console with, so thank you very much, Ross.
Well, you do good projects.
Together we have, yes. Yep.
Okay, we got a few administrative items to finish up here.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is a request to consider an adjustment to our group life insurance benefit provided to non-union and supervisory employees. We're currently at a $25,000 term life insurance policy upon the hire of an employee. That was last approved in October of 1990. In order to stay competitive in the employment market, I'm recommending we increase that benefit to a $35,000 group term life insurance policy.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Is this what our union employees have?
The union agreements that have negotiated an increase will get the $35,000 after 10 years of service. So this is slightly different in that this would be $35,000 upon hire.
Okay?
Can you explain that one more time? I'm just trying to track. So when you get hired here, you wouldn't get 35,000, is that what you're saying automatically, or is it?
Under this proposal, the non-union and supervisory staff would.
They will.
The union agreements that have a $35,000 policy included, it comes into effect after 10 years of continuous service. So they start out at $20,000 upon hire, and it increases to $35,000 for those unions that have negotiated that type of policy increase.
So it goes maybe increments of 20, then 25, then 30, then 35, that kind of thing, sort of thing?
In those cases, it goes immediately at the end of 10 years, or at 10 years, it goes from 20,000 to 35,000.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, this really will, I mean, if I was on the union, I would sit there and negotiate this. If all of the non-union employees have it, our next,
Request.
request from
yeah.
the unions will be that they
Yeah.
get the same. So instead of costing us, and we have a lot more union employees than non-union employees. In fact, what is it, about 80% union
Yeah.
or more?
Almost 80.
So, when you're saying this, I mean, I'm not against this, but when we're saying it's going to cost us $1,296 per year, in the big picture, it's going to cost us a lot more because by next year when we start doing our contracts for our union employees, they're going to want the same thing and they're going to have a reason to have it. So. Just so everybody
Yeah, we know.
understands that,
Yeah.
that this will, you can multiply this by,
5 or 6 probably.
probably by 10 by the time, everybody gets it.
Well, I would imagine a lot of them are over the 10 years already have the 35.
That's
I mean, the
true.
number, but I think your point is well taken, and I don't have a problem supporting that. I think a life insurance policy in a group is a good, inexpensive way to insure your family.
I absolutely not
So I don't-
against
I don't have a
this.
problem
Don't get
with
me
it.
wrong. I just
Point
want to
out
make
these
sure
facts.
that we understand what we're
When
doing
they start
here.
asking, I think we'll
Right.
Because I'm not against this at all. I think they deserve it. We have the best employees in the state of Minnesota, but I just want to make sure everybody understands what this means.
We do. It's gonna.
What's he looking at us, Mark?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, why is?
Well, and in that discussion, I think when we talked a little bit about it at our last luncheon meeting after the board meeting or work session, concerns about, how we're going to be viewed as far as our health insurance that we offer, and, are we going to be fined huge amounts of money because we offer good health insurance for our employees, but it's to help, I guess, in the long run, it's supposed to be evening out the cost of health throughout the state, really, I guess. But that's something we're going to have to talk about, I think, in the future and find out where we're at with that, too.
Yeah, and just a point of clarification, it would not be a fine, it
Or
would
what
be
is
a
it?
tax.
It's a tax.
Yes.
It's part of the Cadillac tax.
Cadillac
A
tax.
fine suggests something a little different.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
just
you're right.
strictly a.
At least we don't call it a fee.
I think it's more of a fee.
No, even the Supreme Court says it's taxes.
So that's going to be a bigger issue, I think, to deal with.
It absolutely is, and that's one of the items that we've initiated some discussion with one of our unions to start trying to educate our employees about the impact of the Cadillac tax and what it means to our organization going forward.
Yeah. No, I'm for it too, because I think it's good. I mean, if it's been 24 years since we've increased it for our non-union people, I mean, we're sitting on the board right here, we're making history. It's been 24 years.
Every time we sit here, we make history.
That's true.
That's right.
Some more exciting than others, I guess.
Now, did we have a motion and a second on that?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
believe we did.
Okay, any other discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 7 in your packet then is recommendation for renewal of tobacco licenses for 8 facilities in Blue Earth County for 2015. All of these businesses have completed the required paperwork and submitted the license fee. So we're recommending approval of those tobacco licenses.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 8 then in your packet is applications for 2015 on-sale liquor licenses by 2 entities, Mount Cato and Indian Island Winery. The application paperwork have been reviewed by the county attorney and sheriff, and all the paperwork has been submitted along with the fees, and so we're recommending approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? None, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved. I believe that brings us to the end of our agenda.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. We'll need to recess until our budget hearing at 6 p.m. tonight.
Okay.
Move to recess until 6 p.m.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're recessed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.